Somewhere right now there is a local newspaper website, maybe Italian, maybe French, maybe Japanese, running a story about China. It looks like normal news. Local city name, a little weather, a little business, little sports. It's not normal news though. It was written for you by Beijing, and you were never supposed to notice. This is the new weapon of the CCP, and it's called Paperwall. By the end of this video, you'll be able to spot it, and you'll understand why it might be the most underrated weapon in China's entire playbook. When most people hear Chinese propaganda, they picture the obvious stuff. State media, wolf warrior diplomats, 50-cent army trolls, some painfully pro-Beijing influencer. But here's what the CCP figured out a long time ago. Nobody trusts an obvious source. So their goal stopped being speak for ourselves. The goal became borrow somebody else's mouth. Borrow a foreign outlet's logo, borrow a foreign reporter's face, borrow the credibility of a Western brand, a local city name, a country that isn't China, anything that lowers your guard. And now it's not China says X, it's oh, apparently Italians think X about China. Apparently the French press sees Taiwan this way. Apparently international opinion agrees. That's not just propaganda, that's ventriloquism. And if you're Taiwanese, this is going to feel very familiar. The research institute Citizen Lab out of the University of Toronto gave this operation a name. Paperwall. And I really like this name, it's almost perfect, because we're not talking about a real wall, it's a wall made of paper. Hundreds of websites, fake press releases, scrapped articles, and counterfeit local media pasted together. From a distance it looks massive, authoritative, global. Get close and it's exactly what it sounds like, paper. Copied content, fake media identities, commercial filler, and political messaging stacked into the illusion of a real information landscape. And here's the clever part, the part that makes it actually work. These sites don't scream propaganda at you every day. Most of what they publish is deliberately boring. Local news, business updates, travel pieces, crypto press releases, lifestyle junk. A lot of it literally scrapped from real outlets, with the source quietly stripped off. Then, buried inside of the harmless filler, they drop the payload, a pro-Beijing narrative, an anti-American conspiracy theory, a hit piece on a Chinese dissident, disinformation aimed at Taiwan, Japan, Hong Kong, and the Uyghurs. One real example Citizen Lab flagged, a conspiracy theory claiming the US was running human experiments on the Thai-Myanmar border. And of course, there is another constant. Every single one of these sites has attacked the same handful of exiled critics of the regime. Filler to build trust, poison pill to do the damage. That's the model. Here's where it gets genuinely dangerous. These sites don't show up wearing a Chinese state media badge. They're not called Xinhua or People's Daily, not Global Times. They're dressed up as Italian media, Korean media, French, British, South American media. So the average reader never thinks, this is Chinese propaganda.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
They think, huh, even this country's press is China that way. And that's the whole game. The target was never just to make you believe China. The target is to manufacture the illusion of a global consensus, to make you feel like different countries, different languages, different outlets, all are independently saying the same thing, when in reality it might be one influence network wearing 100 different local masks surrounding your information environment from every direction at once. In information warfare, we call this echo chamber and the false consensus effect. And Paperwall is one of the purest examples I've ever seen, because here is the truly insidious goal. It doesn't even need you to believe China. Its bigger win is just to pollute the search results, so that when you look something up, you get a wall of articles from what look like different countries and different sources, all quietly serving the same Beijing narrative. The end game isn't making you trust China, it's making you distrust every source. And that's a much harder thing to defend against. So how was Paperwall actually exposed? This part plays out like a detective story, and it didn't start in Washington or Taipei. It started in Italy. October 2023. An Italian outlet, Folio, notices a few local news sites that feel off. The names sound hyperlocal, Rome, Venice, Milan vibes. The layout looks like normal media, but the content is a mass of scrapped articles from mixed sources, and tucked inside the normal stuff is a clear pro-Beijing, anti-American, attack the dissidents kind of messaging. 1 month later, South Korea. The intelligence service flags 38 Korean language sites masquerading as local outlets linked back to Chinese PR firms. Same fingerprints, same playbook. That's when a senior Citizen Lab researcher named Alberto Federelli starts pulling out the thread. He works backwards from the IP addresses and the digital infrastructure, and what he finds isn't 6 sites, isn't 18, it's a network of at least 123 websites across 30 countries on 4 continents. And he traces the whole thing back to a single company, a Shenzhen-based PR firm called Haimai, a private company doing state-aligned information operations for hire. That detail matters, and we'll come back to it. The names are almost funny once you see the pattern. Roma Journal, Eiffel Post, British Financial Times, Incheon Focus. Each one of these is engineered to sound like some real city's hometown paper. Their actual job is to launder Beijing's politics into something that reads like international news. And before you think, okay, 2024, old story. No, it's still growing, and right now the front line is Japan. Ever since Sanae Takaichi became prime minister, it took a hard line on China. A wave of fake Japanese local news sites has been pumping out rumors targeting her. At least 15 of these sites are still running right now, still live, presented as Japanese hometown media. Names like Fujiyama Times, Nikko News, Sendai News, Fukuoka Express. And while on the surface it looks like local press, underneath, it's mostly recycled Chinese state media content, mixed with disinformation and conspiracy theories. And here's the part that's almost a comedy. They're trying to pass as Japanese outlets, but the Japanese is broken. Honorifics colliding with casual speech in the same sentence. In one baseball article, they translated game as stage performance. So you see, guys, they want to look like Japanese media, but the language gives them away every time. But don't laugh too hard for now, because the next level of this is not broken at all. Here's a theory that genuinely keeps me up at night, and it comes from Ryohei Suzuki, a researcher at Hitotsubashi University in Japan. His point: we're already seeing generative AI learn from these fake sites and then repeat their bias or outright disinformation when ordinary people ask it questions. Sit with that. The boring filler, the sports, business, the car news, isn't just camouflage for human readers. It builds search engine weight and credibility so that when a major geopolitical event hits, the network flips it into a propaganda machine and feeds that poison content straight into the AI models scrapping the open web. So the real goal of Paperwall might not be tricking you at all. It might be tricking the AI that you're going to ask for the truth. Automated, scalable, self-replicating manipulation. And this isn't hypothetical anymore. In February 2026, OpenAI revealed it had banned an account linked to Chinese law enforcement that tried to use ChatGPT to build a covert campaign against Takaichi, flooding social media, spinning up fake accounts, posing as Japanese residents to pressure politicians, and pushing the far-right extremist smear. All kicked off after she condemned human rights abuses in Inner Mongolia. At that time, the model refused, but the intent is now on the record. They're absolutely trying to weaponize the AI layer. Paperwall is the supply line. So why is this so hard to stop? Take Japan. Even when officials debunk a rumor fast, they have almost no power to actually block the content, punish whoever spread it, or publicly pin it to a foreign government. There often isn't even a legal definition for this kind of attack, let alone a tool built for nation-state scale operation. That's the structural weakness of every democracy here. Disinformation moves fast across borders at massive scale, and our response is throttled by legal process, platform cooperation, and judicial sign-off. We get statements, fact checks, and please take this down requests. Beijing lives in exactly that gap, and they're not working alone. After 4 years of war in Ukraine, the information warfare exchange between Russia and China is an open secret. Russia brings the mature disinformation templates. China adapts them into something quieter, more localized, more aggressive. And what's interesting interesting is they don't always coordinate directly. They amplify each other's anti-American, anti-NATO, anti-democracy lines until it feels like a lot of people around the world believe this. NATO's own assessments now warn that fighting this country by country is simply too slow. Now, here is where I'm going to disagree with the obvious answer, because the reflex is just regulate it. More laws, restrict the speech, lean on the platforms to throttle reach. I don't buy that the answer is that simple, and I say this as someone watching this stuff from the front line. If democracies rush to legislate, censor, and downrank, we risk building a tool that doesn't stay pointed at the CCP. The same machinery can just as easily be turned on whistleblowers, on dissidents, on ordinary citizens. In Europe, we're already seeing cases where fighting disinformation starts looking a lot like silencing inconvenient people. And it gets worse. Under pressure, a lot of platforms now boost mainstream media by default, but plenty of mainstream outlets are themselves penetrated but co-opted. So the thing meant to stop foreign narratives can end up giving Beijing's anti-American, anti-Japan smear the target content an even bigger megaphone, now wrapped in a trusted media shell. So no, the answer isn't a machine that controls speech. What we should be scaling is exposure at the source, monitoring, attribution, tracing the network back to the HiMai-style firm that built it, and saying so out loud. That's exactly what Citizen Lab did. We need 10 times more of it. Independent researchers, security teams, investigative journalists, and yes, independent media like this channel, all pulling threads in public. NATO's right that we need a rapid set-the-record-straight mechanisms, but not just for humans, for the search engines and the AI systems too. If Paperwall is poisoning the well, then democracies need to flood that well with credible, fast, multilingual, true information. So the AI doesn't only learn Beijing's manufactured consensus. And this can't be left to governments and big media alone. Governments handle resources and cross-border coordination. Independent researchers handle attribution. Trusted independent media handles fast translation and explanation. And ordinary citizens like you handle reporting, checking it, and spreading the real version. Because here's the whole thing in one line. What the CCP is trying to forge is a fake global media consensus. And what a free society has to protect, the one thing they can't take their way past, is your ability to recognize the truth when you see it. If this helped you see one more layer of the game, hit subscribe. That's generally how this channel outcompetes 100 fake ones. I read the comments, so tell me, have you spotted a local site in your country that felt off? Drop the name below. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.